We spend so much of our lives chasing happiness, like it's some finish line we have to cross. But what if that's not it at all? What if happiness is right here in the small, simple moments? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today, diving into the incredible wisdom of Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh.
Thich Nhat Hanh often shared this quote, and it just completely flips our normal thinking on its head, doesn't it? We're so used to thinking of peace as this prize we get at the end of a long, hard fight. But this idea, it says the fight itself is the mistake. The peace, the real happiness, is found in how we walk the path, not what's at the end of it.
Okay, but that's the big question, right? How are we supposed to find peace when life feels like a constant race? You know the feeling. It's always the next project, the next deadline, the next vacation. We keep telling ourselves, okay, then I'll be happy. And honestly, it's just exhausting. So what's the alternative?
It starts with what he called the art of stopping. I mean, think about it. Our final destination will only be the cemetery. Why rush? It's a bit blunt, but it really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? If we're always running towards the future, we're completely missing the life that's happening right now. The whole point isn't to get to the end faster. It's about actually living the journey.
So how do we actually do this? How do we practice stopping? Well, let's start right at the beginning of the day. The whole idea is to take our boring, automatic morning routines and turn them into meaningful rituals. Rituals that don't just wake us up from sleep, but wake us up to life.
And the practice can be incredibly simple. Like this. The moment you wake up, before you check your phone, before you do anything, just let a tiny, gentle smile form on your face. You're not trying to force yourself to be happy. It's more like a quiet little nod to yourself. A way of saying, hey, I'm awake, I'm alive. And that tiny act is enough to start waking up your mind.
Now, a really powerful tool for this is something called a gatha. It's basically a short verse, a little poem. I like to think of it as a mental reset button that you can hit anytime during any normal everyday activity. You just say it to yourself, silently, and it pulls your attention right back to what you're doing in this exact moment.
So let's take a look at an example. Imagine you're at the sink, about to wash your hands. You turn on the faucet. Normally, you'd just be on autopilot, right? But instead, you silently recite this gatha about water. And, wow, suddenly it's not just water. You're thinking about the mountains, the earth, the incredible miracle that brings this life-sustaining thing right to your tap. It completely transforms a boring task into a moment of awe.
Here's another one I just love. It connects the super simple act of brushing your teeth to a really powerful intention for your day. All of a sudden, it's not just about cleaning your teeth. It becomes a vow to speak with kindness and love. That boring 2-minute routine, it's now filled with purpose.
And look, this isn't just for ancient practices. It fits perfectly into our crazy modern lives. Here's a gatha for getting in the car. Before you just jam the key in the ignition and peel out, you take one single conscious breath. You connect with your car, you know where you're going. It's a tiny pause that can bring a little bit of calm to even the most nightmarish commute.
All right, so from the morning routine, let's move to something we do all day long, pretty much without thinking, walking. What if we could take that simple act of getting from point A to point B and turn it into something deeply peaceful and nourishing?
That's the whole idea behind walking meditation. Usually we walk to get somewhere. But this practice says that every single step can be a destination in itself. You're not walking to find peace later on. You are walking with peace right now. The joy isn't waiting for you at the end of the walk. It's in every single step.
So here's the big mindset shift. Next time you're walking, it doesn't matter if it's to your car or through a beautiful park, just try this. Feel your foot touch the ground. Boom, you've arrived. Now feel the next foot touch the ground. You've arrived again. In that tiny moment, you realize there's absolutely nowhere else you need to be.
And this idea of being present, well, it naturally extends to another huge part of our day. Eating and drinking. I mean, be honest, how often do you actually taste your food? Or are you just mindlessly eating while scrolling on your phone or answering emails? This is an invitation to really, truly savor what you're eating.
The orange meditation is such a beautiful example of this. It's so simple. You just hold an orange, but you don't just glance at it. You see it. You see the sunshine, the rain, the tree that are all packed inside this one little fruit. Then you peel it and just breathe in that amazing smell. And when you finally taste it, you get it. You, a miracle of life, are encountering another miracle of life.
Same thing goes for having a cup of tea. This isn't about some complicated, formal tea ceremony. The meditation is just be there. Be 100% present with your tea and with the person you're sharing it with, if there is one. That's it. That total presence is the whole practice.
Okay, that's great for oranges in tea, but what about the stuff we hate doing? Like chores. Well, this next quote is a game changer. It suggests that when we're washing the dishes, instead of seeing it as a miserable task to rush through, we can handle each plate with the same gentleness and care we would give to something precious, something sacred.
And that brings us to this really profound piece of Zen wisdom. The profane is the sacred. When you practice mindfulness, the line between what's boring and what's spiritual just disappears. Washing the dishes, doing laundry, sweeping the floor, those everyday things become the holy ground where you practice being alive.
So where is all this going? The smiling when you wake up, the mindful walking, savoring your food, what's the point? Well, they're all signposts pointing you in one direction, home. Coming home to this very moment, and ultimately, coming home to yourself.
You know, we spend almost our entire lives trying to arrive somewhere else, don't we? At that next promotion, that future vacation, that moment when we think we'll finally be happy. What this whole practice shows us is that the real destination, it's been right here, the whole time. The present moment is the destination. And every single mindful breath, every mindful step, that's you arriving.
And this right here is the mantra that brings it all together. It's so simple, so powerful. As you breathe in, you can just say to yourself, I have arrived. And as you breathe out, I am home. You can do this anywhere, anytime you feel stressed or rushed. And you just feel this wave of relief because you realize you don't have to run anymore. You're already home.
So we'll leave you with this final beautiful thought. The point of all this isn't to go out and find something you don't have. It's about coming back to uncover this incredible treasure of peace, love, and joy that's already inside you. It's your inheritance. It's already yours. It's just waiting for you to claim it. So the only real question left is, are you ready to come home?